Welcome to the Attaining the World Beyond review. This week we will continue chapter 23, which is spiritual walk. We started last week and decided to complete it this week because in our quest for spirituality, this is one of the key work that we have to do. And all too often, we know that we have to do something, but we don't know how. How do we get to this point where we become similar to the Creator? And Dr. Lightman went through it thoroughly in this chapter. It seemed to me, I will start off now, that it seemed to me like, first of all, Dr. Lightman said that spiritual work is an internal work, and it is a constant struggle to rise above the ego, to get to a point where you become more spiritual, and that is distance yourself from wanting to receive pleasure, but rather to give pleasure to others. And this is an eternal work and not necessarily something that people could see visibly, although after a period of time, people begin to notice a change in your attitude towards them, and then they will know something has changed internally. So let's talk about it again this week and see if we could bring some kind of like a model from what Dr. Leitzman has covered so far. Because for me, one of the model I picked up very quickly is that we need to get to this point where we recognize that that goal is to change our quality. In other words, what we have to be doing constantly is to detect the bad qualities in us and to quest to transcend it. And to transcend it, for the first time actually in this book, for the first time I saw a definition of the right line. And it defines the right line as justifying the Creator and justification of the Creator. In other words, you get to this point where you know that you are suffering, you know something is gone wrong, you know you're fighting things because you did not get the pleasure, but you have to have a right line, and this right line is justification of the Creator. And the only way you can justify the Creator is to believe that the Creator knows everything and this is best. And that shift is very monumental, because it's not easy to shift from what you feel to be true to what you have to feel to be true, which is the Creator is right. You remember there's a cliche which says the customer is always right. In spirituality, the Creator is always right. so and to shift from I am wrong and the Creator is always right is something that you need prayer. And if you don't pray for that help, then you won't be able to make it, because it's like the bridge. Prayer becomes the bridge to make the shift. Francis?
Yeah, that's really true, Sheila. Is a seismic shift, for one to shift away from what the ego says inside me, that what I see, I think this is it. But there's a step, the creator is always a step ahead. And experientially, feel like we playing catch up all the time. He's always correcting our internal qualities. There is a paragraph that I read that daunted so much on me about the entire world is created solely for our use as people who are studying this wisdom, the wisdom of the sages, as Sheila calls it. He set up this world as a stage for us to practice that. So everything that is going through me, everything I see around me, I see deficiencies. I see problems. I label it in my vessel as a problem. But then Dr. Lightman is saying that that deficiency is a reflection that I am rather lacking. I need that correction internally, and that is something I've been pondering on as I sit here this morning. That he said, when one sees the negative in others, It is because the person is not yet free from deficiencies, and as a result, realizes the need for personal improvement. So, everything that is on the world today, you open the news, everything you hear today is like a mirror showing me the war that is going on inside me. And it should turn me, rather to ask, to pray, as we've shared this morning amongst us. Everything is calling on us that we are on this stage for this particular work, that we ask, that we are changed. Our internal qualities are changed to reflect or to become that of the Creator. Tuso?
Yes, indeed. All the internal changes that we need to undergo, it's actually the spiritual work that we need to undergo, as Francis has said. And it ties on to what Sheila has said, that we learned about the right line and the left line here in this work. Before coming to this wisdom, we knew that there is something good and bad, because we act towards two things, pain and pleasure. If I feel good, then there must be a good God out there who brought the pleasure to me. If I feel pain, there must be a bad God there. I might even call him the devil, who brought all the bad to me. But the wisdom of Kabbalah comes and say the good and the bad both comes from one source, the Creator. That's where we learn about the right line, which says we justify now the Creator, the source of life, with the bad that we see and experience. Now, suddenly, instead of attributing the bad to some bad entity out there, now we say, well, everything comes from him. Therefore, all the bad that I experience actually also come from him. They just come in a negative form. But for why? What is the reason for all of this? There must be a good reason, because it pushes us to wanting him. It pushes us to the prayer that Sheila was talking about. So without actually the bad appearing, I would sit on my couch forever for millions of years and I will never move. But because I will feel pain of discomfortability, pain of hunger in my stomach, I'm going to walk and go cook. I'm going to get out of the couch and go do something. I'm going to go to work so I can eat. So the pain that we previously thought of coming from the bad source, it actually also comes from the good source, from him. That's where the right line comes in the spiritual work of this chapter, that now we want to change our nature in order to liken our nature to his nature, which is the nature of bestowal. So this chapter that speaks of the spiritual work, it simply teaches us how to actually change our nature from receiving for ourselves into receiving in order to bestow, just as the nature of the creator. Delis?
Hello there, everybody. I thought you were going to perhaps call Godfred after you, Thuso, but I'm happy because I also noticed Francis always starts off with the things that I'm looking at to answer. So he always says the stuff that I have in my mind ready to partake of. Um, yes, there's a part in this chapter that speaks of the light. It speaks of this outer light that surrounds us, and past, present, and future. And it seemed to me that the present, whatever you're experiencing in the present, is related to the light that you can enter into your own soul. And I think that is possible through this work of the mind and the heart, the inner work. The mind being that you gain knowledge by studying, and the heart is by shifting this desire. And then looking at the future, it says that this light shines from something ahead of you, this expectation of a new desire. And the past is where you're remembering the light of the past, items that you might not have to go through, sufferings that you might not have to go through, as you recall it in your studies and in your reflections and in your growth. I thought that was interesting. And there's just this absolute miracle that happens because the creator does everything. it reminds me of a beautiful poem by one of the sages where it says, all are his words, all are his ways of talking to you, relating to you. And so at the start of the chapter, jumping back to that, where it says, your spiritual ascension is, if you think you're doing your spiritual ascension without actually looking at everything around you and knowing that this is the opportunity to speak to the Creator, then you're not really perhaps doing the spiritual work. So finally, I want to say the word that Sheila mentioned, that you mentioned was, or was it you, Thuso, where you said, where you assess everything. You have to become this absolute observer of what is coming into you, at you, through you, thinking, etc. And that's the work to be done. Gottfried, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thanks, Zeresh, for beautiful comments. And actually, you said it. What actually surrounds you, what you see, what you observe, what you perceive, is exactly what Rabbi talk about it and help us understand. The point that the paragraph I like most is this: with that, even the negative you see in others, it is because the person is not yet free from deficiency. And as a result, when you realize that the need for personal development, and then you go ahead to collect yourself, the picture changes. In fact, that they created, actually what he did is to set the whole humanity to an ascent by the whole world progressing, changing ourselves. So when you change yourself, you transform yourself, you are transforming your friend. And then you see the goodness in your friend. And then you see the love in your friend. So he gives you a space where the right or left helps you to appreciate that there's not beside him, that he is just there for you, and your thoughts affect your brother, it affects your sister. So what the thoughts you have, just good thoughts, just loving them. And then we live in a very beautiful world. Then we all ascend. We overcome our difficulties, our sufferings together. Then we ascend to the original thought of he, which he had for all of us. Shira, please.
I like the way Godfrey always come up with this optimistic position, and I dare say to you that that's not my experience. Because I wish I was getting it like that, but unfortunately, that's not at all the case. To say, oh, it's going to just be like that. For me, it's not like that. For me, it's like, okay, there's this period where I'm saying, Creator, can I just have 2 days holiday, please? Just 2 days holiday, because you've given me so much work to do that I just deserve 2 days holidays from the spiritual work. But the spiritual work really.
May I
Sorry.
interrupt? May I
Yes,
interrupt
yes,
just
yes.
for a second? Because it touches on the part of the chapter where it actually says each individual is quite unique. Each individual's
Yes,
spiritual work
indeed.
is quite unique. And if you want to say to the next person, oh, this is how it's done, then you're doing a super disservice, because you cannot.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because exactly. Because for me, it's like, oh my goodness me, what did I deserve to get all this work done, put on me? Because it's constant things happening, and you are always on the treadmill, constantly thinking, okay, this has happened. I know my reaction is this, but you have to step back. Always have to step back, because my initial reaction will be, how dare you do this? What were they thinking doing this? You know, they obviously have it on for me. Why are they treating me like this? That's that's the language that I hear all the time. And then I have to constantly stop myself and say, well, hang on, who is the person that you're criticizing here? This is the work you're supposed to do. And the work you're supposed to do is to step back and scrutinize how you are perceiving the experience you're going through, and become like almost like a scientist in the laboratory of your mind and your emotions, how you're experiencing. I remember once I literally sat down, my body is burning with anger, and I'm feeling the anger in my body, and I'm asking myself, when is it going to pass? Because I need to pray for this anger to leave my body, because it's that bad. So the spiritual work really is about recognizing what is happening to you at any point in time and how you're responding to it. And one bit of the book says, if you don't feel the punishment of whatever is given to you, then you will not be able to ascend spiritually, because you must feel it for you to pray from the bottom of your heart for it to leave you. Because otherwise, your prayer is superficial. You haven't felt something that is so bad within you for you to ask for prayers, for it to leave you. So I don't know whether you wanted to add anything else, but we've gone past our 15 minutes.
Yes, I'm up there again to add.
Okay.
Because if you pray for something to leave you, it isn't so that you can go back to your comfortable state of being as before, but rather for the sake of the Creator, the sake of love, the sake of bestowal. And that is where you have to chew this difficult process.
Thank you very much. And because we've gone past our 15 minutes, I just want to say thank you to every one of you who have been watching. We shall meet with you again soon. Bye for now.